So I'm going to do a part 2, and I'm going to grab a book up here, so just don't mind me real quick while I get it. My Game Mastery Guide, which I love from Paizo, but really you can use a lot of these things for other material as well, has on the topic I want to discuss, and that's player types. Because I think as a GM, you got to look at the types of players you're going to have. And we kind of discussed this a little bit before, but I really think it's important for GMs to understand the type of players they have. And bear with me as I read out of this a little bit, because I want you to kind of get an idea that game systems understand there are different personality types. But I think, and I'm going to put a twist on this, that it's handled wrong too many times more than not. They have the antagonist. No prudent antagonist thinks light of his adversaries. The continuity expert. Things alter for the worse spontaneously if they are not altered to better designedly. Basically, your person that likes to have order. Your diva. My life is a lovely story, happy and full of incident. We all know the divas in our campaigns. The entrepreneur. A person born with a liking for profit. They are your I want treasure, and more treasure. The flake. Those whose guilt within their bosom lies, imagine every eye beholds their blame. Basically, this is the person that may show up, may not show up, may be plugged into play, may not be. The glass jaw. The weakness of my enemy makes our strength. Basically, he talks a big game, but gets blown up all the time. The loner. He who would do great things should not attempt them alone. Basically, this is the person that doesn't feel they fit in, doesn't feel like anybody understands them, pity me, poor me kind of personality. The lump. As long as you're enthralled with a lifeless form, you're not free. Basically, the person who just sits there until you prod them to action. The one-trick pony. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle is very smart in that. This is the person that uses the same method for dealing with play time and time again. The multitask master. The true art of memory is the art of attention. Basically, they're all over the map. They see the forest, but they are sure as a heck missing the trees. The power gamer. Good Lord, we all have these. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. These are the ones that love to be in control, love to be the most powerful, and love to be the ones that are always going to beat everything they come upon. The rules lawyer. The strictest law has often caused the most serious harm, says Cicero. And it's true, because sometimes they are about the absolutist of the rules and the laws. The tag-along. You wish to multiply yourself tenfold, 100-fold? You seek followers, seek zeros. These are the persons that will be the lemming that follows the rest of the party doing whatever they're doing. Then the thespian. This is the one that loves acting and is much more real than life. Each of these, and they have, and I'm going to skip over this because though I love how people say to handle them, I want to start with you, the GM. You will see every one of these players and mixes of these player types. That's the key thing. There is not just one. There's the power gamer rules lawyer. There's the power gamer thespian. There are all these other mixes that come together. You will never find two players that are totally alike. And that's the cool part about GMing. Everybody is unique. You as the GM are the one that's got to bring out the best in your players. And you may be one of these personalities. I bet you are. I as you can tell, I am definitely the thespian. And I am definitely the social interactor, outgoer, love to talk to people type. I've always been that way. Let me tell you, I did a lot of change, and I continue to evolve. I say I'm a work in progress. And that's all of us as GMs. We are works in progress. We will never arrive to the goal in our lifetime, but we can sure keep on the journey. And that's the thing you got to remember. You have never arrived. I don't care how much you know the game, the rules, how many times you've GM'd. I don't care if you are a Paizo writer who writes it, or if you are a Wizards of the Coast writer, or if you're a Green Ronin writer, or if you are Monty Cook and Shanna. I don't care who you are. You have never arrived. You are a work in progress till the day they put you in a pine box or cremate you. That's just the reality of the world. And wisdom comes as a GM when you understand that, and that you are constantly learning how to work with people and personalities. Couple tips. Number one, and we've talked about this before, every player will rub you wrong, and will rub you wrong almost every 3 to 4 sessions. Okay, a new one. If you let them. You have to look at it this way. Pull your ego out and watch it from afar. Think about what would make this unique and fun for this type of personality. What can I do in my campaign to engage this person in a positive way, to even where their annoying behaviors works to the happiness of the party? You can do that. And I do it all the time. I'll give you a perfect example. My one guy is a power gamer. He will never admit it. He is a thespian power gamer, creationist, kind of one-trick guy. I love him as a friend. Honest to God, he is one of my best friends outside the game. In the game, he and I have argued more times than not. Carrying Crown, if he watches this, he's going to know who he is, and he and I bump heads. But I learned something going into this recent one. I'm going to engage him. I'm not going to shoot down his character and what he tries to do with it. Instead, I'm going to allow other players to work with him, help him to expand his repertoire. Because I think he'll enjoy it as he expands his repertoire. Yes, he loves to be the superhero. He does. He loves to be the good guy. And I get it. And I love that for him as a human being. In the game, sometimes it can get on people's nerves. And what you have to do is shift the focus away from him being the center of attention. Engage other people to lead the party. Engage other people to speak up. Engage other people to help him to think outside the box. Perfect example. They came upon a lodge, and in the lodge were a bunch of bandits. And they engaged the bandits in the Winterfell. And of course, he's in the thick, just knocking them aside. And he goes in to check on this heroine that needs rescued, this noble woman. And the first door he looks in the window on, from the outside, he notices that there's a half-orc inside trying to sneak out. He automatically assumes this is a bad guy. As soon as she opens the door, he lights into her with his falchion. Messes her up pretty good, honestly. She's reduced to probably a third of her hit points. Shock on her face. Behind him's the Cleric of Sarenrae. Love the Cleric of Sarenrae. So you've got a war priest with a falchion of a good god, or an imperial lord. And then you got the Cleric of Sarenrae. The Cleric of Sarenrae is shocked at his behavior and his assumptions. And he even says to him, did you really need to hit her? And, he goes through, finds out she's not the bad guy, but makes her strip down to her humiliation and ties her up in her civvies. And then moves on to his thing. The Cleric of Sarenrae goes over and heals her, asks her if she's okay, asks what she was doing there. Smart man. Finds out that she was brought on unwillingly to this group because her party was slaughtered by the bandits, and they gave her a chance to live. And as her alignment dictated, she's going to take the choice to live. She's going to make the first chance to escape also if she sees this group falling apart. She's not evil in any way, shape, or form. So, the cleric unties her, lets her cook food for the party, tell them about what's going on. Of course, she spills her guts from the kindness of what's going on and what's ahead, and then helps the party out. And what does he do to the chagrin of the war priest? He gives her back 100% of her items, gives her a symbol to pay a tithe at the temple, and wishes her Sarenrae's blessings. Now, what I don't tell the party, she did go back and become a worshiper of Sarenrae because of this cleric's action. But my power gamer wanted to kill her and suspect her. Lesson hopefully he will learn is that the priest of Sarenrae did the right thing and shamed, in a sense, the war priest, though I doubt he'll take the shame. But it is a lesson learned, and he got extra experience, which I'll be honest, the other war priest didn't get. I docked some experience, but I didn't say anything. The reason is I want him to understand that there are ways that you can handle it that aren't wrong, and what the war priest did is not necessarily wrong. It's his one-trick pony. Sound familiar? The priest of Sarenrae, love him. I'm going to give shout-outs, and I'm going to mention the priest of Sarenrae's name and not the other ones because I don't want to shame or anything. Paul did a tremendous job with this cleric, and I hope he continues to think outside the box. I am so proud because Paul used to be the quiet guy. I mean, he spoke up, but he allowed the war priest, to lead the party. I'm seeing emerging in this man and in our rogue 2 people that are starting to become party leaders. And it comes from GMing them, working them, giving them a chance to express their things. And I let the priest of Sarenrae go. I wanted him to go down this rabbit hole because it was so great to bring him out and really help him to be more of, I think, what he wants to be. And that's that memorable cleric of kindness and healing and good. And it is a major plot in his goals. So I made sure he got to achieve his goals. And that's why it's so important. I mentioned that before. Let people develop their goals under character creation, which I'm going to put out a little later. I'm going to publish this one before. But that comes to the point. Look at your goals of your players. Look at what they're trying to achieve. Encourage them to pick some really unique goals and expand on them. You write in your notes then how it's going to fit into the storyline and work with that player. And let me tell you, it's really important that you as the GM become the unifier and bring the best out of your party. It is not up to your players to play the right way. It is up to you as a GM to mold yourself to bring the best out of them. And that's a challenge for some of us that are introverts by nature, and I am an introvert by nature. I'm an extrovert now, but by birth I was an introvert. It's going to call on you to expand yourself a little bit, but that's okay. Make attempts to try to unify, to try to codify, to try to help your people to feel like you are there to make a great experience for them. I'm telling you, you will never go wrong as a GM that way. You will absolutely get the most rewarding experiences and memorable stories. It's not about you talking all the time either. Let them talk and guide the story. Let them have the floor. Let the thespian have the floor sometimes. But then just rein it in when it gets to be a little bit much. And you do that with simple cues like, okay, well, the NPC or so-and-so says, or has an amazed look on their face, or responds positively, or gives you a quizzical look. That will stop them from just holding the whole floor. And you can always look at the rogue and say, the situation kind of looks a little bit odd. Let them have the cue to then go do the things they do best. Use emails outside the game to give them little clues and tips. I love email. I do. I'm starting to send the guys little emails to let them really expand what they're doing. And I appreciate it. It's not easy. I brought a guy in that honestly was to the chagrin of one of my other players. Unfortunately, our paladin did not like that I brought in this guy. But let me tell you something. This guy hasn't been a bad guy. And I'm glad I brought him. And I'm hoping that I can get the other player to really ease off a little bit. Because there's something that went on between them in a past campaign or session that I don't know about. And I'm not going to dig too deep because it's not my job as a GM to be their therapist. But I want to create an environment to maybe will change the mind of the other one towards them and maybe heal some wounds by letting some things go by. I'm a people reader, folks. That's one of my strengths, and I'm thankful for as a GM. It helps me to sit there and see when there's something there, and there usually is. The reason these people are these personalities is what formed them that way in their life. And so you've got to realize that. You're not going to easily change a person. You can change yourself. And I say that to both GM and player. If you want to enact change, change it here first. Look at yourself and where ways you can grow. There's one player that I had on Twitter, and I give her a little bit of a shout out, and if she ever watches this, she'll know who she is. She stepped out of herself thanks to the Critical Role folks who encouraged her to go into acting and try it. She went and tried out. She even shared how these people impacted her life at her audition. She made it into the acting university. And I got to say, that's a huge change. For a person, and I've been kind of watching her personality a little bit, and I can't tell everything from Twitter, but I'm getting a feeling of how she is. And for her, that is such a big leap in faith. That's what changes people. And I'm telling you, when you change it here, the people around you in your life will change, including your gamers. They will notice. My players, I think, have noticed my change as a GM in this Reign of Winter campaign. Big time. And it's because I took the time to say, what did I do wrong in Carrying Crown? What did I do wrong that made the sessions not fun, burned me out a little bit? Because it did. And I learned that there was stuff that I was doing and trying to control that, honestly, I didn't need to. I needed to take and handle a different way. And I think that's the thing you got to remember as a GM. And I know this is going to be a little long today, but I think it's a very important topic when it comes to working with players. Never assume you understand why they are the way they are. Don't pigeonhole them. Please do not pigeonhole your players. They are a work in progress too. So don't say that they're just this way and they will always be this way. They are that way because people quit believing in them and put them in that box. Don't you join in that little boxing them. Quit being so vocal on sites that talk about these type of players. You incite your own worst personality things when you buy into the garbage and the mudslinging that goes on these sites. And I like Facebook, I like Twitter, I like some other places, but I promise you, the things that are said in these rooms would never be said face to face and would never be said on another media. And when you incite yourself in these places to join into the let's go burn the monster, let's go, and that's a great example of it. Let's go burn Frankenstein's monster. And that's the way you look at that player you don't like. They're the Frankenstein's monster, and you want to get out the torches and run and burn them. Stop. Be the one that showed Frankenstein's monster kindness. You remember the monster changed through kindness, the kindness of others. That's what's going to change people. Your kindness, you're not judging them. You're not putting them in a box. You believing in them. You believe in them, cheer them on, help them to make good decisions by putting the campaign to help them to make those decisions. We forget it's the fun of the game that keeps us coming back. The game is fun itself, but when a GM brings it to life in a way that it just tickles our fancy, oh my gosh, we want to come back next week. And that's what you're trying to create. Have little tools and tricks that help people out of the rut. Find some books on different personalities and look at how to encourage, help them to be their best. When they make choices in the character creation portion, give them a little bit of your input. Don't force them, but just brainstorm with them a little bit. Help them to look at what might be kind of cool to do. and then encourage it through the challenges in your session. Really look at these people and see what it is that motivates them and motivate them. You are the coach. You are the storyteller. You are that person that really makes the great session. Believe in yourself. Believe you can help them. And believe you can bring the best. I promise you, you will never look back and say, man, that was bad advice. I wish I had this advice instead of some of the other advice that I got early on as a GM. And for those who helped me later on with this kind of advice, thank you so much. Your names, I couldn't go through so much. Shout out to Pink Dice GM on Twitter. Thank you for your GM tips. You're part of the reason that I'm doing these videos, is you inspired me with some of those. Thank you to DM Leviathan. Thank you so much for your encouragement. Thank you to X Boshi and her bunch up in Illinois. If you guys get to see this, thank you so much, guys. Thank you to guys like James Suter, James Jacobs, to Eric Mona, to the wonderful people at Wizards. You guys are the reason that keeps me wanting to GM and to do things. Thank you to Shanna, Jermaine, and Monty Cook. You guys are greatness. I hope to meet you someday. I just want to give you guys shout outs because these are people to look up to and really follow and listen to some of the advice they have. They are tremendous resources, and please look them up and really work with them if you've got questions. And don't hesitate. I mean, I've given you my stuff before. I'm Rick M6 on Twitter. It's capital R, little IC, capital M6. You're more than welcome to follow me. Would love it. I'll add you wholeheartedly, and any questions you have, I'll do my best to answer. So thanks again, and I hope this helps. I know it was a little long this time, and have a wonderful day.